W²AV Talk with Demetris Curry. Here's your gateway to discovering the formula to a more gratifying life with the accountability you need to start and stay energized, inspired, and on top. Author and wealth strategist Demetris Curry is a nationally leading voice and go-to authority on insurance and financial literacy. Got questions about your finances, relationships, healthy living, or professional life? W²AV talks about it all, along with tips to enhance your overall well-being. W²AV Talk with Demetris Curry.
Hello, everybody. This is Demetris Curry, and I am so excited to be here with you today. You will not believe I got a phenomenal, fantastic author with me today, Miss Tashay Mason. I am so proud of this lady. I mean, we're going to talk about everything that she has going on right now, but I'm telling you, when you get the opportunity to listen to her about her history and how she got to this place of being not only a strong woman, but also a phenomenal author. And so why are we here today? Well, you know, W²AV Talk is all about bringing new information your way and how we can help you to the next level. And in this rendition, we're talking to authors at Authors Unite. Right today, we are going to learn more about Miss Mason, behind the scenes of who she is as a person, and what really brought this to her life. What made her bring this phenomenal book of work and books of work and children's stories to life. And I've had the opportunity to read them, so that's why I'm so super excited and I'm so happy for her. So let me just move out the way, y'all, and bring to the forefront Miss Tashay Mason. Tashay, are you there?
Yes, ma'am. Hello. How are you?
How are you? I'm so excited to have you with us today. Thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to be with us.
Well, thank you so much for having me, and thank you for those beautiful words. I really appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. You know, we go back a long way, you know.
Yes, ma'am.
We do. I was like, I thought about that. I was like, oh my God, how many years have I known Miss Mason?
I think it was 2008,
2008,
2009. Yeah.
I mean, years and years. And you are such a beautiful spirit, beautiful heart. And I said, I'm so proud of you and what you're doing in children's books. Okay. But I don't want to steal your thunder. I want to give you the floor and you tell us about Tashay. Tell us behind the scenes of this wonderful book of work that you pulled together and what made you bring it to the forefront.
Well, thank you so much. I greatly appreciate it. And you are a beautiful soul too. Thank you. Well, so we got to go back to my childhood. This is where it all started. Okay. I was 9 years old when my dad died, and it took a toll on me, and it really affected me in ways. When I look back now, it's like in every aspect of what I did. I was that kid that didn't want to express my feelings, even though my mom, she did her best to try to get me to express them. And so I can express my, when I'm sad or angry. I just didn't want to talk about it. If it wasn't me being happy, I don't want to do that. I didn't want to feel hurt. So it actually carried on into my adolescence. It carried on into my young adulthood, until I finally decided to get counseling, because it really affected how I dealt with relationships. Right. If I can keep you at bay, I don't have to deal with those emotions. I had them under control. So when I finally decided to get the help to work on the emotional part, it was when I started really thinking about that 9-year-old little girl that's still inside of me. To let her know that it was okay to be upset. It's okay to be sad, and helping her be able to react in a positive way. So as I'm working through therapy, God placed it on my heart about writing a children's book. And I'm thinking like, yeah, writing a children's book. Yes, this would be great. I don't know where to start. I mean, what am I going to write about? There's so many subjects. And then God placed it on my heart and said, I need you to write about this. And I'm like, this what?
Excuse me?
Your experience on what happened with your dad. And I was like, I'm not ready for that. And I sat on it for a year, and God just kept on and kept on. And you know how it is when God puts something on you and you want to ignore.
Yes.
So just kept on and kept on. And then I got to a point where I said, okay, if I'm going to do this, how am I going to tell the story in a children's book? I mean, this stuff carried on to my adulthood, but we got to do a children's book. So I thought about it. I wanted to use a little girl. I said, you know what? We're going to use me, and make sure that everyone can identify with this little girl. So it's not just me. It's anyone that has lost someone in their life. I just went ahead and used me for that example. And so while going through this process, before I started writing, I took out a sheet of paper and I wrote down everything that I was feeling in that moment. It was not in any format. It was capitalized. It was lowercase. It was cursive. Some words were a little bit more colorful, but I wrote it all down and I folded the paper and put it away. And so I felt better after I did that. And then I went back and opened the paper and was like, wow, there's a lot of these feelings that I've been harboring, all this time, and finally got it out on paper.
Right.
So then it was like, okay, so how do I want to do this? So putting in some of my experience and, of course, a little bit of imagination there too. But I knew I did not want to do a traditional funeral. I remember how I felt seeing my dad in the casket. That was not the way I wanted to see my dad the last time I saw him.
Right.
So I was like, well, okay, there's got to be another way. And you hear about various ways people have funerals, whether it's they have cremation, they spread the ashes, they grow roses, they put in the rose bed, different things like that. So I remember maybe about 5 or 10 years ago, I was watching A&E and they were talking about a place I used to live, which was Sarasota, Florida. And I was like, wow, what are they talking about in Sarasota? And it was an organization that created reef balls. And what it is that the loved one's cremated ashes mixed in with the eco-friendly concrete, and they put it in the water and make it a part of the coral reef. So it makes it as a home to sea animals, as well as protecting, helping the environment. So I was like, yes, let me try that. So I reached out to the Eternal Reefs organization in Sarasota, Florida. I said, do you mind if I interview you guys? I want to use this process you have in my book. Is it okay? They were excited about it. So they said, yeah. So I interviewed them. They sent me videos of the process. And I was like, yes, because I started sharing this information to other people. I was like, I've never heard of that. I didn't even know you can do that.
I had never heard about it. Yeah. Wow.
And so I was like, you know what, this would be a great idea. So started writing the story. It started to flow. I had to put it down a few times because I was getting emotional behind it, because it took me back to 9-year-old Tasha that was feeling those emotions. And so once I finished the story, I was trying to find a really great illustrator. And my mom suggested my sister's friend, who she went to high school with, Tanya. And so I reached out to her. She's never illustrated a book before. I said, hey, I'm new to this too. What do you think? I gave her the story and she was right on board with it.
Wow. And it seemed like everything just sort of came together, right?
Yes.
And it felt like you were sort of like unraveling or just pulling back the layers.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, pulling back the layer.
That part, I had to, you know what? It's so funny because over the years, I would pride myself on not feeling emotions, because for a while, it's like, if I'm not happy, I'm not, getting things done. If I'm feeling sad, I felt sometimes I was a bit weak. So as those layers began, I peeled my own layers and I'm like, wait a minute, what is going on?
Yeah, I'm telling you, the peeling back of the layer thing, you be like, oh my God,
Mhm.
is that
Yeah.
real or am I imagining?
That part, exactly. And it's like, is this the real me?
Yeah,
And then getting to a point of understanding, yes, this is you. This is
yeah.
you. And it's all right. It's
And it's
okay that you're
okay.
feeling this way.
And it's
Mm-hmm.
okay. I've learned that, many years myself is like back when I was a kid, I've been through so much. As
Mm-hmm.
you know, growing up in a domestic violence household, it was like it's okay to feel fear. It's okay to feel, aggravation. It's okay to be irritated. It's okay to not want to love, want to be talked, want to be touched. Don't none of that. All of that.
Right.
It's
Right.
okay to feel that way and walk into your truth and
Mm-hmm.
roll, let it continue to roll off of you. You know what I mean? Let it continue to
Yeah.
evolve and to
Yeah.
metamorphosis.
Yes. And you know what? And loving yourself,
Yeah.
even though, you feel like this part of you is not fully you, but it is.
Yeah.
Our emotions, it's one thing I've heard people say, whether, there's good emotions, there's bad emotions. There's no bad emotions. It's just emotions. It's how
Yeah.
you respond to those emotions is a different
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we are human beings and we all experience different things in different ways, but we all have various emotions. So bringing that into the book, and I wanted to make sure that you heard it from the child's perspective. So
Yeah.
you're hearing these words from the little girl. It's not
Mhm.
someone giving you outside looking in. You are getting a glimpse of what she's feeling and what she's trying to process herself. So I thought it was very important for families to, because sometimes if you're a caretaker and you're trying to help a child that's grieving and you're grieving yourself,
Yeah.
that's a challenge.
That's
And
a challenge.
and I didn't think about it. My mom and I sat down and talked about it when the book was coming out and everything about what she went through. And as a
Mhm.
kid, I'm not thinking about that. As far as what mom is going through, and it's like wow, because her and my dad, even though they weren't together at the time, were very good friends.
Yeah.
And then my stepmom who was grieving. So there's a lot of parts there,
Yeah.
and to think
Yeah.
about I can't even imagine being a parent and got to tell my child, you
Wow.
know,
That's
they're two peas in a pod, and now I got to come and
yes.
break this news to her
Yeah.
that her father has died. So,
Mm.
for the longest time, I didn't want to celebrate Christmas. I would act like I was okay,
Mm.
because he died December 12th, 1986, and
Mm.
so
Right
Christmas,
at Christmas time.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was like, okay, fine, we can celebrate, but I wasn't really into it, and it
Wow.
was it was when I wrote the book when I finally was actually excited to celebrate Christmas.
And see, and this is the thing though, and this, but I don't want to say goodbye. Hello, for you guys have not seen the cover. It's behind her, but if you have not seen this one, hello. And it's okay to be happy. This is one of my favorites. One of my favorites to share, and I love
Thank
the
you.
graphics. You guys did a phenomenal job
Thank
on
you.
bringing out the light in her eyes and so forth. I just really, really love it. And see, and that's just the thing that I love about, being an author is being able to tell the story through your own hardship and through your own
Yes.
eyes and knowing that it's going to help somebody because it's
Right.
somebody else that has either been through this, currently going through it. You can imagine, I know you probably heard this 10,000 times, but a little kid being given this book that's going through something similar
Mm-hmm. Yes.
and the
Yes.
impact
Absolutely.
it have on them at their lives at that given time. You
Mm-hmm.
didn't have this help system, but you
Right.
created a help system for
Right.
another child that's going through this right now. Have you thought about that? Have you thought about the impact that you're making, girl?
You know what? Initially, I was like, when I wrote the first book, it was like, if it touches one person, I'm good, right? I
Yes,
was like, if it actually helps one person, I feel like I did my job.
yes,
But then when I began to hear people uh, share their experiences and tell them how much the book helped them. And initially, it was only going to be one book. I wasn't thinking about writing a sequel to it until it was like, okay, well, the funeral is over. The family is still grieving. So what do we do next? You know,
What do you
because
do?
people go home after the funeral, but that family is still dealing with it. So
Yes.
then it was like, okay, so now, okay, this is a series now. So now we're going to make this a child's journey through grief. So how do we move forward? And so I took some of my experiences throughout my adolescence and into adulthood in the book. Grief support groups. Now, granted, I didn't do that.
So as Tashay comes back to join us, can you believe what she has done with this book series? I'm just absolutely excited because just think of where we can be helping people all over the nation with her book, all over the nation, all over the globe with her book. Tashay, there you go. And
I'm sorry, to know what happened.
yeah, I said she's coming back in just a second. But it's just amazing to see that, and I'm so proud of you. And I know that part of your strength, you know, being in the military, right?
Yes.
How that brought that strength up to help you be able to be as vulnerable as you have been in this work of art. You know
Well,
what I
being
mean?
in the military, you're gonna be around people a lot.
Yes.
So when I try to, like I said before, try to keep people at bay, it's kind of hard to do that when you're around people all the time. So then, when it goes through training, when I was deployed, so you got to learn about people a lot more. So then it forced me to have deeper connections than what I had before. So
Right.
I was already going through that transition before I started going to therapy, and I didn't realize it until later.
Gotcha. Gotcha. And you know, it's so funny. I don't know. My mom mentioned to me the other day. She said you're evolving. You're so evolving. You're always evolving. You always come up with something new. And then I said, really, Mom? She said, yes. I just can't keep up with you. And so, but
That's good.
that's good. That's good. And your mom is the same way. I love her. Oh my goodness. So it's like, you know, but what they see in us is something more than what we see in ourselves, right? It's like, okay,
Yes. Yeah.
you know, I
Definitely.
thought of it that way. I just never came to mind that was, you know, what you saw, but you know what I
You
mean?
know what my mom said? My mom says this all the time, and I know, Mommy, you watching. When I tell her, "Oh, Mom, I did this," and her response is, "I'm not surprised."
I'm not
And I'm
surprised.
like, "Really? You're not surprised at anything I do?" And she's like,
I'm not
I'm not
surprised.
surprised," and I'm just like,
Yes. And
"Okay."
she's
And
so
so,
active. She's so active in everything. We be giving each other juice notes and everything, and online. And she said, "Oh, I love that post. I'm sharing it." You know, she's fantastic.
oh yes. And I thank God for her. I thank God that she continued to even as a kid to get me to talk, and she's like, "You know what, it's okay. Come on, let's talk about it." I don't want to talk about it. And we would sit there for a while because she's like, "Okay, we not getting up until we talk about this."
Exactly.
And then, in that moment, I'm crying because I don't want to talk about it. But then
Right.
when I started talking about it, I started feeling a little bit better.
Yeah.
So, even though I would still at times want to resort back to, I don't want to talk about it. But I think about those times where she was like, she would sit there. My mom was very persistent. So she would sit there so I felt the importance of showing the mother in the books as well. And especially when she broke down and cried in the first book, to
Mm,
show that, what, as kids, if we're going through we don't think about what the parent is going through because we're dealing with our own grief and we're kids, right? But I
right.
wanted to acknowledge for the families, hey, look, even though we're talking about this little girl, we're acknowledging that the mom is grieving too.
Yeah.
Or if there's a different situation where the dad is grieving or the grandparents is grieving or whoever it is, to
Mhm,
understand that
mhm.
grieving doesn't have a timeline on it. It
It
can
does
last a
not.
lifetime.
It
you
does
know
not. It does
you
not.
know
It It's not. I promise you.
Yeah, and I feel that, some people say, well, it gets better with time. I tend to say it becomes more tolerable at times, because you can
Exactly.
be sitting there watching something on TV and they say something and you just start boohoo crying because you're thinking about, you had a memory or something like that. And I
And, and
know.
I and I had that recently. I
Hmm.
literally had that recently. I ran across some papers and I was filing some things away, and I ran across one of my dad's old banking statements. And my dad passed of cancer,
Hmm.
and hadn't seen his banking statement since he passed. And I said, "Oh my goodness!" And the next thing I know, I was boohoo crying.
Yeah,
It
but
was-
you allowed yourself to do it
yes,
too.
yes.
Yes,
I was
yes,
just standing there looking at it like, okay, whew, you just exhale, whew, and just get through it, right? And so
yes, yes,
it once I got past that 3 or 4 minute of just sitting there and staring at it and saying, okay, I'm okay. You know what I mean?
hmm,
And
right,
then
right.
be able to breathe through it and keep on going. But sometimes it happens just like that. Just
It does.
it's a
And
real
it'll sneak up on you, and even, and to let families know, talk about that person. Share
Mhm.
those memories, and maybe they did something that was so funny or it's so loving, or whatever. Because the thing is, that memory of that person is not going to go away.
Right,
So,
right.
you can work on that and deal with it. And if you gotta cry, get your box of tissues and,
Yep.
sit there and do that.
Mhm.
I know me, I'm big on pictures. I love pictures.
Yeah.
And for me, I have pictures of me and my dad. Um, we only got a 9-year span, so I look at those pictures over and over, and I often wonder, what would he be doing now, and what would
Right,
he say as far as what I've accomplished in my life. I
right.
remember in 2017, I went to his hometown of Buffalo, New York, and
Mhm.
my cousin drove me around and showed me place like his old high school where he used to live. And when I went back to the hotel, I felt angry because I
Mhm.
think about all the milestones that my dad missed. But then
Mhm.
I was sad because it was like, I want to see you. I know I can talk to you in
Mhm.
spirit, but I
Mhm.
want to see you. I want to hold you. I want to give you a hug.
Right,
And so I allowed myself to be in that moment. And then after that, I went on my phone. I have pictures of my dad on my phone, so I'll look through there. And
right.
then it's like, okay, I'm good now.
Yeah.
So even in the book, It's Okay to Be Happy, I, creating a memory book,
Mm.
equine assistant therapy with animals. And when I was a kid, I learned how to barrel race. My mom was
What?
dating a guy. He was an engineer, but he was also a cowboy. So he had his own ranch. And yeah, he taught me how to ride a horse. And I
Okay.
didn't realize how therapeutic it was for me until I was
Yeah.
an adult, because
Yeah.
it was right on time. After my
Mhm.
dad died, my mom met him. He was so cool. We met his family. We're, still connected with his family to this very day. But me riding a horse, I never thought I was going to be riding a horse, but learning how and being in rodeos
Mm.
and in parades. So I realized how therapeutic that
You needed
was.
it. You needed that.
And yeah. So
You
some
Mhm.
people don't realize there's so many things out there. If you're not into going to support groups, or if you're not into going to counseling, even though those are very helpful, there are different ways to help with coping positively, like creating
Yeah.
a memory book. I know we have our phones with the digital stuff, but we can actually create an album, print out pictures, and
Yes.
actually have them, to hold them and look at the pictures instead of just flipping through our phone. Animals. I have a dog. Bella is in the story. So who's in
I
the other
saw
room
that.
sleeping
I
right
saw
now.
that.
Yeah, so she getting her sleep on right now. But just those different things, or
Yeah.
going to different places where where you went with that loved one.
Yeah.
And the third book that I'm writing, Let's Celebrate, which is the final book of the series, talks about being able to celebrate holidays and events, without them being there.
Mhm.
How do we move forward? You're not moving on,
Moving
but you're moving
forward.
forward.
Moving forward.
So
And it's not easy.
it's very important. It's
Mhm.
very important to do that, because that person that passed on, would they want you to stay
Right there where you are.
they want you to live out the rest of your life just constantly being sad and not going out and just living life, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So and it's hard because it's like, well, I wish they were here. You're gonna constantly wish they're here. You're gonna
Yeah.
constantly wish that.
And you're never gonna, get over them not being here, but it gives you the
Right.
opportunity to be able to move to the next day of being and say, okay,
Exactly.
I can get through this day, I can get one step forward, I can get through that day. I mean, I
Yep.
think we both have been through some really crazy. I lost my dad when I was an adult. You lost yours when you were a child. So,
Hmm.
but still missing your parent is there.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. I'm thinking, and I'm thinking ahead here in the future of what this thing can do for women that are afraid to tell their stories, whether it be a child's situation experience or perhaps something they experience in college, something they
Right.
experience in marriage, something they experience of being a single woman, maybe they experience of just
Hmm.
being a mother, and whatever it is, to give them hope and give them the feeling that, you know what, if she can dig this deep,
Yes.
right,
Yes.
and tell her story and be that transparent and be
Hmm.
that vulnerable to do that is, for me, even for me as an author, I'm like, do I really want to be that transparent?
You know what? You know what?
I really
It's
want to
common
tell
to
that
think that way.
much.
It's common to think that way, but you know what? What I realized through this process and meeting other authors, everyone has a story.
Everyone does.
Everyone, every single person on this earth
Yes,
has a story, whether it's
yes,
as a child, as adolescents, as an adult. Everyone has a story that someone else can
babe,
benefit from to get that
babe.
help. Because hey, you experienced something and I may not have gone through it, but you know what? I may know someone else that has.
That's right. That's
So
right.
it's
That's right.
like, well, how can I help the next person? And we're I believe we're put on this earth to help each other. And
Yeah,
sometimes we want to hold on to that trauma. Sometimes we want to hold on to that pain because it hurts so much to share.
right.
But the thing is, I do believe that we're meant to, somebody else may come along and say, you know what, I've been dealing with this. And then
Hmm.
you're wondering, should I really share? Should I be transparent? And then
I,
when you
you know,
open up and do that.
And I've actually had women tell me, "Oh, girl, I didn't know you went through that. I went through that too. Let me
Hmm.
tell you my story." And I'm like,
Yes, and
"Oh, we can open
it
up a
opens
can of
up.
worms."
Yeah, it opens up, and it opens up conversation. It opens up people's
Yes,
hearts.
yes,
The empathy, sympathy, being able to just to be there for someone else, even if it's just for that moment. You may come across a stranger that you may end up sharing that story to, that changes their life. I
yes,
always believe saying hello to,
yes.
now I know a lot of people across the country may not believe this, but I always believe to say hello to everybody.
There
So
you
whether
go.
you say hello back,
It's
that's
up to
on
you.
you. Yeah. So, but you never know what that other person may be dealing with, and you
Yes.
acknowledging them and saying hello might have been the pick me up they needed.
Oh, I do something similar to that. I sort of acknowledge people with a smile. Hi, how are
Yeah,
you?
that's good too, because a smile can go
It's,
a long
it's
way.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
because people be in the store and they look you straight in the face and you're like, hi. You're like, oh, hi. I'm like, you stare me in my face and you're gonna say hello? Hi.
Some people be deep in thought. They will be very
Yeah,
deep
they be
in
like,
thought,
who
and
is
it's
this
like,
lady?
oh, okay.
So while you sitting there staring at me, I'm gonna say, hey, like,
I'm
hi,
saying, hi, how you doing?
you doing? And sometimes it gets them to smile because smiles are contagious. And
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And you get them to
Hmm.
smile and get them to, relax off of their hard shell every once in a while and all of that. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
yeah, that's amazing. We got so much stuff to do, girl. I'm so excited
Yes.
what
Yes.
you got going on and what's coming up new in this third piece of the series. That's going to be fantastic.
Yes, yes, yes. I'm looking forward to it because it's the final book of the series, and I'm excited to share what Jasmine continues to work towards as she navigates through her life. And so I'm
Yeah.
introducing a couple more characters. And actually, I attend book fairs. So I had someone ask me at one of the book fairs, "Are you going to write about her as a teenager?" And I was like, okay, that may be something later on down the line I may explore, because the thing
Mm-hmm.
is, you're looking at various stages. When you look at the different stages of development and the
Yeah.
different stages of grief, you may not experience all those stages at once. You may experience a few years later, and then a few years down the line. So, the different how you experience things at different stages in your life, and how you respond to it, how do you deal with it. So I thought that was an interesting idea. So that would definitely be something that I would definitely look into, possibly writing about. I may even write about her
And
as an adult too. So
I was just about to say that, you know, men in our lives and the relationship that we have with them stemmed from the relationship we had with our fathers.
yes,
And
yes.
yes, and so I was one of those, and a lot of women probably went through the same situation where I didn't trust easily. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't trust
Yep.
easily. I when I dated, I dated with a long spoon. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yes, yes,
if he
yes.
does something wrong, then I mean, yeah. Don't get too close,
Yes. Oh,
right? Don't
oh,
get too
yeah,
close.
I can definitely identify with that. And for me,
Yeah,
if something just don't seem right at all, I don't
yeah.
even give it an opportunity. I'm ready to go,
Mhm.
because my thing is, I don't want you to hurt me. And what I learned in therapy is, for me, if I lose a friend, or if I might lose a relationship, it's like another death for me. So I'm
Mm,
grieving all over again. I didn't
mhm.
realize that. And and made it a point of, that's what I was trying to avoid. So I'm gonna
Gotcha.
leave you before you leave me.
Oh,
I'm not
okay.
gonna fool with you, type thing. So, and that's how it was. So then when I actually got left, I was like, wait a minute, hold up, wait.
This was supposed to happen the other
That's
way.
not supposed to happen. No, no. But the thing is, understanding as an
Yeah,
adult that, you're gonna feel deep, and it's okay if you feel
yeah,
deep.
yeah.
And I had to finally get to that point, because for the longest
Woo.
time I didn't want to go there. I didn't want to do it, because
I
I
had,
knew the greatest pain I had was losing my dad,
yeah,
and I didn't want to go through that again.
yeah.
So, and then, but that little 9-year old was basically pushed down, and she wasn't allowed to express herself. So she would come out in various ways. But now, yeah, she would come
I
out
was
in
just
various
about to say that, but I
ways.
said,
Yeah.
I'll let her say it because I was just about to say
Yeah. She would come out in some ways, and adult Tasha is like, hold on, wait a minute, we got to keep this, And but 9-year old Tasha was like, nah, this is crazy, and you kept me quiet for so long.
that. Yeah,
So finally, she's speaking through the books. I'm
yeah,
hugging her more. I'm loving her more. I'm telling her it's okay. I love you. It's all right. So now, younger Tasha and older Tasha are like working together, as opposed to
right,
fighting each
right.
other. Yeah,
And
yeah,
it's so easy to be like, okay,
yeah. Which, and you know what? And having that, I guess folks say, a youthful spirit.
yeah,
I'm a big kid. I'm a big kid at heart. I love going to Comic Con. I love going to amusement park. I love having fun. And for the longest time, there was a way that I hid that for a little bit, but I
mhm,
but I tend to have that mask on, so folks didn't know what was going on with me,
yeah.
until later. I was like, well, I didn't know you experienced that. I was like, well, I knew how to put on that mask.
You
You
gotta
know,
know. You gotta
I
put on
knew how to do it very well, but
yeah.
it got tiring though. It got
And
tired
you
of
got
putting that
tired.
on every morning, putting it
Yeah.
on like everything's okay. Yeah.
But you've utilized it, that you've pulled back the layers. You
Mm-hmm.
utilize all of those experiences, you put it into a beautiful work of art, and you've actually brought it over to children where they can use it for generations and generations to come. I'm so excited for you, and I'm happy
Thank
for you.
you.
I want to acknowledge all of the accolades that you're getting in this industry, and all the features that you're getting on TV and radio and magazine. I'm so excited for you, and I know that you
Thank
got so much
you.
more to come. I said, oh, look at her. I knew her when she was,
With the uniform on, representing
with her
U.S. Army
military
with the
uniform on. I knew her when she was over there overseas doing a thing. I knew it then. You know what I'm
Well,
saying?
I give it all to God, because I never thought about being an author at all. That was never on my list of things to do. And the fact that He put it on my heart and people are being receptive to it,
Yeah.
and just, hearing the wonderful stories, even adults buying the book to help their inner child,
There you
because they dealt with death a long time ago. So I'm very happy about it. But I'm gonna tell you, other than God, the number one person that I wanted to make sure liked the book, you know who I'm about to say? Mama.
Mama.
If she was good with it, then yeah. And
Yeah.
and it took her a while to read that first book, because she
Okay.
was there. She was there experiencing with me, me going through my grief, and then her grieving herself. So when
Yeah.
she finally read it, she was like, "Oh, I didn't know this is the direction you were going into," and
Oh,
everything, because we all know death is not an easy subject to talk about.
right.
But I wanted to put it in a way that, okay, yes, it's not easy, but you can get through it though.
You can
You
get
can
through
you
it.
can actually get through it. You can sit down. It's okay to cry. Adults, if you have children and you're grieving, it's okay that you cry too.
Yeah.
Cry with your child. It's okay. You got to get that out.
Yeah.
You got to get that out. It's okay for the kids to see that, hey, look, mommy, daddy, grandma, granddad, auntie, uncle, yes, we all have feelings. We're not robots.
We all have feelings, and that's the thing, that
We
we
all
all
have
have
feelings.
feelings. And
Exactly.
that's just the thing. And I'm glad that we can talk about those kind of things. And I can pick up the phone and say, "Girl, I'm having a day,"
Yes, 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 yes.
because it's definitely something that we need to be a little bit more open to, and it helps with the process of breathing through. It keeps stress down to a much lower level,
Yes.
and
Yeah,
it allows
absolutely.
your it's really big on your health as well, to be able
Mm-hmm.
to get those things out. So
Yeah.
glad that you came by here to talk to us today,
Thank you, thank
lady,
you, thank
and
you.
talk about where you are, and all the wonderful things that you're doing in the background, and what you got coming up next, and all these things that is just going to be so phenomenal for the world to see. So I'm so proud of you. I'm so thankful for you, and
Thank
and we
you.
got so much more in store. Okay, so tell us,
Yes,
where can
yes.
we find your books of work, and where can they go to make sure they get a copy?
Okay, the books are available on Amazon, and you can also go to my website, www.tashaymason.com. I'm going to have information on there, book fairs I'm going to be attending. If you want me to come talk to your school, I have no problem coming and doing author visits. I'm also going to be putting additional information about when the third book is coming out. You can, like I said, you can order on their website. You can go to Amazon. They're also on Barnes and Noble's website, as well as Books a Million. If you want them in your stores, let them know you want them in the stores too. So I'm working on that as well. So, and coming soon this year, I'm working on getting some dolls made of the little girl. I actually had some made for a promo when I first had the first book come out. So the lady in Australia, she hand knitted this, but I'm working with a company here in the United States that's working on a stuffed animal. So I'm waiting on the prototype for that. So there's more to come. And if you go to my website, if you're interested in getting designer bookmarks, I make those too. So they're on there as well.
That's what I'm talking about, lady. That's what I'm talking about. Thank you so much for being with us here today. And
Thank
we'll make sure we
you.
put your information on this series as well, just in case someone missed that. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Guys, I mean, I'm telling you, a wonderful, wonderful woman, Miss Tasha Mason. And not only did she come in and talk about the things that have just been wonderful in her life, but also was transparent of the things that was a struggle for her, and was able to put those things into some of the wonderful books of work for children that you can use even as an adult, So make sure you go get your copy. And if you want her to be one of your great speakers at one of your events, you know how to reach her. We'll make sure we put that information here. But once again, Authors Unite never failed. We had a phenomenal time talking to Ms. Tashay Mason. Make sure you are here with us on the next episode of W²AV Talk Authors Unite. Guys, have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thank you for tuning in to W²AV Talk with author and wealth strategist Demetris Curry. Connect with Demetris at demetriscurry.com and subscribe to the Demetris Curry YouTube channel today.